When you want only the best for your pet, check out AbbybellPetDesigns.com. We offer quality products such as floppy beds, crate pads, round pet beds, pillow slip covers, belly bands, and more. All products come in a variety of colors and sizes, guaranteed to satisfy your pet's particular style. Your pet deserves to be pampered, so shop at AbbybellPetDesigns.com. If you don't see the item you want listed in our shop, just drop us a line and we'll be glad to make the product of your pet's dreams. AbbybellPetDesigns.com. Good morning, everyone. Hey, Gary, good to see you. How is everybody on this Monday morning? We are getting a new CIA director even as we speak. Hey, Brandon, how are you? Thanks for joining us. Hey, Drays, how are you? How is everybody on Monday? Daniel, good to see you. Carmen, good to see you. Alan, hello, hello. Good morning, Lori. How are you? Good morning. Good morning. I'm better than I deserve. I deserve you. I'm as good as I can be, I guess, you know, and hopefully never deserved, but hopefully continues. Hey, Don, good to see you. Thank you for the blessings. All right, as everybody is coming in, and if you will, please retweet and share this. I think a lot of people are probably watching the CIA director being sworn in right now. Hey, Wayne. But let me read Psalm 43 to you. Vindicate me, O God, and plead my case, my cause against an ungodly nation. O deliver me from the deceitful and unjust man. For you are the God of my strength. Why do you cast me off? Why do I go mourning because of the oppression of the enemy? O send out your light and your truth. Let them lead me. Let them bring me to your holy hill and to your tabernacle. Then I will go to the altar of God, to God my exceeding joy, and on the harp I will praise you, O God my God. Why are you cast down, O my soul? And why are you disquieted within me? Hope in God, for I shall yet praise him, the help of my countenance and my God. Hey Rob, good to see you. How is everybody? I had wanted to also ask everybody that's coming in. I know Gina Haspel, the first woman to lead the the CIA, busy working on Corey Stewart campaign to take power from Timothy Kane. Good for you. Carmen is asking for your prayers this morning. Carmen's mother had relatives that passed away, and Carmen too. Hey, Robert. And Carmen's sister needs your prayers for what she's going through with her breast cancer diagnosis that she's had. So let's all pray for Carmen and Carmen's family that they would receive healing and strength and everything that they need through this time. Gary is praying for you and your family, Carmen. Hey, Teresa, good morning. Seems like a lot of stuff is going around with people. Just, you know, I guess it's common stuff that we go through in life, but it doesn't make it any easier at all. You're welcome, Carmen. What does everybody think about Gina Haspel? I think that it is amazing. Not only is she female, I wouldn't want her to have the job just because she's female, but I think that she is highly qualified for the position. It was Carmen's sister, Teresa. They found nodules on her sister's thyroid as well. So pray for God's healing in terms of everything with Carmen's sister. So, as I was saying, Gina Haspel, I think that she's very qualified for his position, having done this for 30 years in the CIA. And so we wish her all the best. And hopefully, you know, the corruption may it somewhere end at the top of the FBI, the DOJ, and if the CIA involvement, I don't know. I know the president has asked. And yesterday early, they asked that the FBI and the DOJ be investigated by the DOJ to determine what, if any, part that they played and the Obama administration played in spying on the president's campaign. Yeah, I hope she cleans it up too, Carmen. But so the DOJ heard what the president said and immediately indicated that they were going to add on to the inspector general his review and add that part on. And I thought it was almost laughing, almost hilarious. Let me see if I can find it really quickly. That Rod Rosenstein basically came out and said, "Oh yeah, oh my gosh, yes. You know, if there's anything, we should find that right now. Let me see if I can find it. Rod Rosenstein needs to go. Let's see. Rod Rosenstein released a statement as well and said, if anyone did infiltrate or surveil participants in a presidential campaign for inappropriate purposes, we need to know about it and take appropriate action. Hey, Vika, how are you? Drain the swamp. That's right, Dr. Sutter. But here's the thing, listen. Hey, Dawn, good morning. Good morning, Junior. You have to listen to the attorney speak that Rod Rosenstein is talking about here. Hey, Julia, good to see you. Make male or female, don't care. Being qualified is the important thing, and she definitely is qualified. Absolutely, Robert. That's what I said. It's great that she's a female, but I wouldn't want her to be a CIA director just because she's female. I want her to be that because she's qualified, and she seems highly qualified for the position. Hey, Lynn. But Rod Rosenstein, listen to this again. If anyone did infiltrate or surveil in the presidential campaign for inappropriate purposes. So listen to his speech right there. The lawyer's speak is inappropriate purposes. And what they're going to say is that they were looking at the Trump campaign merely because of the Russian collusion issue. So that's going to be their stance. There was nothing inappropriate done, and we'll do something if anything was inappropriate, but there wasn't anything. Rosenstein is probably one of them. Absolutely, Alan. He's sitting there talking about, hey, Patrick, talking about himself, basically. And his story is going to be, I didn't do anything inappropriate. I did it. Anything that I may have done was because we thought there was Russian collusion. I know, nothing to investigate. They came out over the weekend. It was Rudy Giuliani. Yeah, inappropriate could be anything. I know, Cully. But they won't find anything inappropriate. I have some concerns. You're asking the DOJ to investigate itself. It's like asking the fox to guard the hen house. But let's see what the Inspector General says about the FOIA request. See if he finds that there was anything that the FBI, the DOJ, did inappropriately along with the FOIA, not the FOIA request, but the FISA application in the first place. So if they find something wrong with the FISA application, which everybody knows that there is, then if he doesn't find anything wrong with that, then I've got some real problems. Hey, B. Hurley, that was Rodenstein. Yeah. How many Mueller sleeps at night? I don't know. How Mueller sleeps at night, I don't know. Carmen, when you're used to doing that, when that's been your life, I think you could probably sleep pretty easily after a while. So, let's see. I wanted to kind of go through everything with this Stefan Halper. You may have heard over the weekend or whenever it was. It seems like 5 years ago, but it was just recently. Hey, Mom, how are you? Sleeps easy with his money, yeah, which is what has he got, like 12 million that he's worth on a government salary, go figure. But I wanted to talk about who Stefan Halper is. He is what came out exposed by the New York Times, I believe in the Washington Post, that he may have spied on the Trump campaign. So for those of you who may not be too familiar with who he is and what's going on, I wanted to kind of do a quick run through. Somebody had written an article from the Daily Caller back in March, and I guess no one was really paying too close of attention to it at that point. Yeah, he could have been texting CNN information. I wouldn't be surprised, Brandon. But anyway, this guy back in the Daily Caller back in March really wrote about Stefan Halper and brought this information up. And it wasn't until the New York Times kind of exposed it that everybody started going, oh my gosh, you mean he spied? Hey, Love Life for More, good to see you. Now let me tell you a little bit who Stefan Halper is. He's 73 years old, And you may or may not know that he worked in the Nixon, Ford, and Reagan administrations, doing various things and helping them during those campaigns. One of the most controversial things that he did, yeah, he doesn't have to make it official, Alan, because the DOJ is already on it. The DOJ heard what he tweeted out in the morning talking about the president, and they already have started on that. They've given that information over to the Inspector General to go ahead and run with it. So the president doesn't even have to make it official. The DOJ is already working on it. Hey, Juan. So Halper was involved in something that was called Debate Gate. I don't know if any of you remember this or not. But during the Reagan administration, there was supposed to be a debate that occurred on October 28th, 1980. Prior to that debate, somehow the Reagan administration got a hold of the Jimmy Carter briefings that was marked classified, top secret on it, and that's the information that he was going to use in the debate against Reagan. And apparently that's what he did. Well, that happened in 1980, and the public didn't learn about the fact that the Reagan administration, the Reagan campaign at the time, had gotten hold of this information and basically used it against Jimmy Carter. They didn't learn about it, the public, until June of 1983, so it took 3 years. I'm more worried about economy. If economy fails, the Socialist Democrat will be in office in 2020. Yeah, well, but, the Socialist Democrat also wants the economy to fail, and they're doing everything that they can, and as we all know, they said that Nancy Pelosi says we're going to go ahead and raise taxes if we get in. So, I mean, hopefully they're hurting their own selves. Hey, Marlene, God help us if Nancy is in control. I know if Nancy gets back in as anything. Hey, Danielle, good to see you. Yeah, Nancy needed to go like 5 years ago. But anyway, so here's some information. Hey, Noelle, good to see you. I guess Gino's got everybody see her get sworn in. Hey, Amanda. Good morning. How are you? Is it Carol? Gosh. Sorry, I was watching some history. I know, Barbara. Everybody was. Yes. Her and Maxine will reclaim their time indefinitely. Thanks, Carol. God, had a brain, thing on Monday. So let me just kind of tell you a little bit of history about Stephen Halper. 2 months before the 2016 election, George Papadopoulos received a request of a meeting. Oh no, getting over bronchitis, Carol. Get better quickly. George Papadopoulos received a strange request for a meeting in London. Stephen Halper, a policy expert and Cambridge professor with connections to the CIA and its British counterpart M16, requested the meeting with Papadopoulos. Hey, Wanda, good to see you. The September 2016 outreach to Papadopoulos wasn't his only contact with the Trump campaign members. He's, as I mentioned, a veteran of 3 Republican administrations. Papadopoulos talks about the strange question that Halper asked him, and that was, he said, George, you know about hacking the emails from Russia, right? Hey, Shannon, sounds to me like it was basically a way to try to set him up and see how much information that he knew. Papadopoulos basically told him, no, I didn't know anything about any of this information. Policy expert equal lobbyist with an agenda. Yeah, or CIA informant, right? You think about it, if he worked with Nixon, Ford, and Reagan, that means he had to have had contact with George H.W. Bush as the vice president to Reagan at some point or other, and George Bush Sr. used to be a CIA director. Hey, Ann, good to see you. So you wonder how much, information they pass back and forth, how much Bush told him to do, whatever. Anyway, Halper first contacted Papadopoulos by an email, asked him to write some type of a paper on Turkey, Cyprus, Israel, and Leviathan natural gas field. Told him that he would pay for him. Hey, Renee, to come over to London, and that's exactly what happened. He paid for him to come over, paid him like $3,000 in order to do it. He also met with Carter Page in July of 2016. And then this other professor, I don't know if you are you guys interested in this part? I don't have to do this. If you're not interested in hearing this part, I can go on to something else. But I thought it would help. There's a lot of facts here, and I don't know if people are interested in knowing all the facts about this, or you just care like, oh well, something happened and we need to do. Okay. So Marlene says, go for it. I'm interested. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Amanda. Think Truck, along with the rest of us, is finding out how deep the swamp is. I know, Patrick. So deep that I'm telling you, it's bottomless. All right, so Joseph Mifsud, he's a Maltese academic professor, told Papadopoulos in April 2016 he learned the Russians had possessions of thousands of Clinton emails. Okay, thanks, Don. So, here again, it sounds like that it's better info than most anyone has. Thanks, thanks, Barbara. It sounds like they're trying to set these people up, Papadopoulos and Carter Page, to see what they know, to put these thoughts in their heads. I don't know. I mean, it comes out of the blue. So that conversation would later spark, supposedly, the FBI's investigation into Russian interference in the presidential campaign. Now, it's just odd, and some people have said, how did they know to even, look at this conversation? How did they know anything about this Maltese professor? How did that all happen? Well, in my mind, it looks like the Maltese professor was working with the FBI to get this information, to get, with Papadopoulos, and to give them an excuse to go after him and Carter Page. Now, Page is also, as you may remember, a prominent figure in the investigation due to allegations against him in the infamous Steele dossier. Page's trip to Moscow in early 2016 is a central part of the dossier. And so, therefore, the FBI, CIA would have already known who isn't working for the government. That's probably the better question, Brandon. To me, the CIA, FBI, DOJ would have already known about Page and already known that Page had some connection to the Steele dossier. I mean, it's just obvious. So Page attended the Cambridge event that Halper set up 4 days after his trip to Moscow. So there again, you've got Halper and you've got this Maltese professor sort of arranging things to happen. I'll take a government job and pension. Sign me up, Brandon said. In May 2016, a month after his meeting with the Maltese professor, an Israeli embassy official who Papadopoulos knew, there again, introduced him to an Australian High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Alexander Downer. All of these people, all of them, okay, Chessie, all of these people, all of these connections, they're all in bed with each other. And it looks like a concerted effort by the FBI, the DOJ, to set this up to try to entrap people, and that's exactly what they did. They had Papadopoulos and Page plead guilty to lying or whatever, the case may be. And so, I mean, they really set these things up. During a barroom conversation, Papadopoulos told Downer about the emails that the Maltese professor mentioned to him. Now, get that. Basically, it's hearsay. Hey, Jerry, Papadopoulos is telling this Maltese professor about something that Papadopoulos is telling Downer, this new Australian guy, about what the Maltese professor had told him. So it's hearsay. He's saying, this Maltese professor told me about Clinton emails and hacking by Russia, tells this to Downer. What does Downer do? He goes to the FBI again, right? Or if you want to assume that this was the first time going to it, I think, again, it was all set up. Goes to the FBI and tells them gives the FBI reason to then go and get the FISA application, which, again, they just needed something. If you look at it and you believe it, they just needed something to put down on paper to go by. This was all, it sounds all arranged, And it was like Downer ran to the FBI, like John McCain, as fast as they could to give the FBI something to talk about. And to go get a warrant then to go seriously into things deeper. There are no clear connections between Halper and Downer, though the pair did speak on the same panel at a Cambridge seminar. Okay, Don, thank you. They believe that, but brush of Assange. The Maltese professor has disappeared, hasn't he? As far as I know, Hidden Jim, yeah. Suddenly he's just out of the picture. Let's see. The Halper's resume provided mixed clues about why he might have reached out to Papadopoulos. On one hand, he worked on several geopolitical policy projects as a contractor for the Department of Defense's Office of Net Assessment, the Pentagon's in-house think tank. Federal records show he has been paid $928,800 since 2012 on 4 separate research projects. Sounds like a lot of money, almost $1 million in working on these projects. At the time of the Papadopoulos meeting, Halper was working on a project related to China and Russia's economic relations. There are no public records of Halper releasing reports on Turkey, Cyprus, and Israel. I'm telling you, it just keeps going. There's more and more information, but I think that's enough for right now. But I mean, again, I think these people are all connected to each other. They're all in bed with each other. What's this report from? Please. It is from a Daily Caller back in March 2018. Can't remember the guy's name, but you'll find it. He wrote this entire thing back in March of 2018. So it's a Daily Caller article. Let's see. Yeah, it just goes into what he had said. But according to some reports that I've seen, not this from the Daily Caller, that about $400,000 has recently been paid to Halper under the Obama administration. Now, here's what I wanted to say. It concerns me that this Halper guy worked for at least 3 Republican administrations. Are we going to find out, and this is just supposition, are we going to find out that there was a connection between the Bushes working with perhaps the FBI wanting to take down Donald Trump? Because Jeb was out of the picture. And we know that the Bushes and the Clintons and the Obamas have all become kind of intertwined. Doesn't matter, they are above the law at this point. Exactly, Brandon. But I wonder, if that they're all low energy Jeb, if they're all connected. You must be talking about very sensitive Facebook keeps shutting your page. Yep. That's it, Wanda. But maybe it just happening to you. It looks like it's still up, but I don't know. I think so too. And I don't know, with H.W. Bush's connections to the CIA and friends in the CIA, and having known Halper back in the Reagan era, it wouldn't surprise me. Ginn and McCain had dizzied too. I'm not sure what that is, first, last. But I know that McCain, took the Christopher Steele dossier, Jeb dossier. Yeah, well, accordingly there was a Republican that was involved somehow in the GPS. So I don't know, who that was. I always thought it was Jeb Bush. But I don't know. I don't think the Bushes are necessarily have clean hands in all of this. So just saying. Now, some other information. Yeah, I know. First, it's just too coincidental. Paul Singer of the Washington Beacon commissioned the dossier. Okay. Hidden Jim said. I thought it was McCain. McCain took the dossier and gave it to the FBI as fast as his little legs would carry him. Flake involved, Lynn said, could be. But the FBI already had the dossier prior to McCain giving it to him. Bushes were dirtier than we ever knew. Yeah, Bushes are part of the trilateral group commission. Jeb saw it too. I would think so too. I think Jeb saw it too. I think, again, I don't think the Bush's hands are clean. That's just my opinion. We'll see what comes out of it. Kerry saw it, oh, Kerry. Uh, as you might have heard Pompeo speaking this morning, he said that, unless Iran turns things around, they're going to be the strongest sanctions against them in history, that they need to change. And he talked directly kind of to the Iranian people. I'm not sure why he did that, because the Iranian people in general don't want the government that they have. GW's grandmother too. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. And the Clintons are part of the Trilateral Commission. I defended, worked for, and loved George W. Bush. Never have heroes, they fell. Yeah, this was HW. This was George Sr. Council on Foreign Relations and Trilateral Commission are the heart that keeps the swamp thriving. Yes, it is. Part of the New World Order. To Iran, no banking for you, Cully said. Yeah, the Trilateral Commission, boy, I tell you need to read up on that and who was involved in that and how totally swamp-like it is and how sick it is. Oh, Junior went bad in the end. Yeah, probably, Barbara. It seems that way. When you see the Bushes hanging around with the Clintons and the Obamas, I'm sorry, but, you kind of become the people, the company that you keep. And so, to me, that was a bad, bad sign. Yeah. Hope they hung on to the billion and gave all the same, like father, like son. Yep. So true, Love said. They suddenly became chums. Yep. Do you know who Gary Haven is? No, I don't. I haven't heard that name. Now, JD was talking a little bit this weekend, or on Sunday. I wanted to tell you something. What was the point of reneging on the Iran deal at this stage? Point of reneging on it? The fact that it was a horrible deal from the get-go, you mean? And at this stage is because that he had the ability to do it. He had, President Trump had Tillerson, who was for keeping the Iran deal. I think that's why he got rid of Tillerson. And then he got Pompeo, who was on the same page as he is. And also Bolton, who both thought it was a horrible deal. And it is a horrible, well, it was, and now it's gone, a horrible deal. And I don't know if you heard Pompeo talking, but under that deal, Iran expanded in the Middle East, caused more chaos in the Middle East than ever before. It was a deal that allowed them to police their own selves. It's ridiculous. Oh, wow. That's crazy, Chezzy. Because Iran continues to support terrorists. Yep, they live near each other. I do not believe any president has clean hands, even our beloved Reagan, Patrick said. Well, if you're in government, I think pretty much you probably don't have clean hands, Patrick, one way or the other. We voted for Trump to get us out of the deal. Yeah, I mean, that whole deal, all it did was expand terrorism and Iran's ability to help other terrorists do what they're doing right now. Another promise kept. That's right, Brandon. And it was a good promise kept. And it was one that, because of the way it was going, and maybe still is, but the way it was going, they were going to go after Israel. You know the saying, absolute power corrupts absolutely. That's right, Patrick. So, I think they would have had more weapons to go after Israel. Didn't Iran drop more bombs in the past few days? Israel is going after them again in Damascus. That was all about money, and oil bushes were in that too, Alan said. Yeah, there's been some explosions heard over in Damascus again. Our government is not reporting it. Our media is not reporting on that. But I did see that. Christopher Steele ordered to appear for video deposition in UK High Court of Justice 618. Yep. Amir, have any updates lately? No, not in the last... after what I told you last week. Good morning, my lovely Sue. Good morning, Gisette. But I did want to talk about what JD talked about yesterday. Apparently, Erdogan has called for a coalition to discuss basically what's going on, and Israel, that what horrible things that Israel is doing, that now that there's an embassy in Jerusalem from the United States, so they want to put a coalition together. Wouldn't shock me if after the swamp was drained, Trump and Rand were the last two standing. What about Pence? But anyway, so Erdogan calling this coalition, the coalition consists of Turkey, Iran, Russia, and Sudan. And those are what are described in Ezekiel 38. That's the coalition of nations that is described, that who will go into Israel and attack Israel for the spoils. So it's coincidence? I don't think so. But well, there goes Facebook. They've had enough. So they basically, he's saying that we're getting closer and closer in watching Bible prophecy. I really think Erdogan poses a bigger problem than Iran. Turkey has a huge military. Well, but Turkey's working with Iran and Russia, and Turkey, pretty much from what other people have said, is that Turkey's kind of going along with Iran because they feel they have to. And who knows, economically, Turkey and Iran are being hurt by Israel right now, because Israel is going to be pumping their gas and their oil over to Europe, and that is something that Russia has been doing. And, who knows, Russia and Iran may start competing against each other unless they work together to go into the Golan Heights. When you speak truth, Facebook can't handle. I know Facebook shuts me down every time I start talking about this stuff. Turkey is bitter they didn't get into the EU, so they are aligning with the Arab states. That's right, Brandon. So, and I think, in a way, they're going to try to take a leadership position, but I'm not sure that they really are in charge. I think it's more or less going to be Iran. We're at the halfway point. If you guys don't mind, would you please retweet this so that we can get it out there? It's a little bit past the halfway point. The control of speech in USA is wrong, wrong, wrong. I know, Carmen, it is, but they continue to do it, and they're going to continue to do it. Thank you, Amanda. Now, also, you probably heard over the weekend, plus Turkey is a door to Europe for Russian natural gas. Yes. Facebook has me back up, so we'll see how long that lasts. I don't know how long it was down, but did you post this once on your timeline? I don't go through Twitter, Barbara, to do my Periscope, because I used to go through Twitter and start up Periscope that way, and when I did that, nobody could ever find me. I think Erdogan is dangerous. Also, it's positioned geographically. Yeah, Erdogan is very dangerous, I think. No, no, Barbara, I haven't posted it. No notifications that way. Yeah. No, I haven't posted that, but I'm going to be probably talking about that a little bit more for the show that I do after this that goes out to Spreaker.com. I'm going to kind of go over a little bit more what we did and talk a little bit further in depth about it. Anyway, apparently Giuliani said, reading this somewhere and got lost, Erdogan started his own coup, right? And people of Turkey don't like Erdogan. They want him out. But, of course they're not going to get him out. Yeah, when he sends thugs to beat up people on our soil. Yep, Erdogan. Giuliani said over the weekend that Mueller said he'd be finished by September if he can talk to Trump in July. My response to that is, hell no. Don't talk to him under any circumstances. We've talked about this before. Mueller's finished. Mueller just doesn't know it. There is no investigation. There is no credence in the investigation. There never has been. Giuliani is a secret weapon, Lynn said. Yeah, I mean, it's a coup. It always has been a coup. When this IG report comes out, and hopefully this IG report is going to be honest, that they will find that FBI and DOJ conspired together on a number of things and regarding the Clinton, what do you want to say, Clinton debacle, where they basically let her off the hook. And hopefully after that, Mueller's going to say, gosh, maybe it's time for me to bow out. Obama knew everything, but he didn't want to. He acted like he knew nothing. You remember he would skip those national security briefings. I mean, because when you don't get to work until after 10 o'clock, then the briefings have probably already taken place. Confusion is just as powerful as war. Yeah. So I'm hoping that the IG report may help in getting Mueller out of the way. Mueller also, and somebody mentioned this, I don't know if it was Giuliani or somebody else said, you don't want to have this going on near an election because you don't want to be accused of interfering and meddling with an election by putting information like this out there. Good point. I think that Mueller is going to continue, though, to go through 2018 and 2020 unless something is done. They should all go to prison for their evil, messy crap, Carmen said. So, I think that it would be great if the IG investigated Mueller, but of course he won't. Didn't they say September was the end? He said, Brandon, that I can be done in September, assuming that I talk to President Trump sometime in July. I'm afraid Haspel is involved too. Could be, Marlene. She's been in for 30 years. It could absolutely be. But, who are you going to get to run the CIA other than somebody from within? If you brought somebody in from the outside after these people like her have been in for 30 years, it's going to look bad. Three Stooges, Crooked Hillary, Barry Obama, and John Kerry. Yeah. Yeah, Three Stooges that got pretty rich, Junior, off of doing what they did. They can talk just not about Russia because there's nothing to talk about. The collusion delusion. That's right, Ernest. Take all of their retirement and jail them. Yeah. Exactly. Got pretty rich off our backs. They sure did. Yep, they sure did. Trump will not talk to corrupt Mueller. Hope not. What does Ray do? We never hear a word about the FBI director. I have no idea what he's doing. Except maybe, keeping us from getting information that, meaning us, meaning Congress. I don't know what he's doing. It seems like the DOJ. This was something, oh my gosh. This was, I don't know if I have it in my notes, but I'll try to remember what it was. Devin Nunes came out over the weekend. And he was on Fox. And he said, who wasn't spying? It's interesting that he chose a 30-year vet over of the CIA to run it. Why is that, Hidden Gem? I would think that would be what you would normally want to do. Somebody who has all of that experience, all the knowledge inside and out. I mean, again, if you're working at a company that long and you're at that, a high position, number 2 position, and then you're overlooked for the job, typically that only happens if you've done something illegal or immoral, whatever. Otherwise, you usually get the job. I mean, to me, that should have been what happened. I mean, we may not like it because of the fact that what we're finding in the swamp, but I think she was due the position. Devin Nunes said that he and Gowdy have not gotten documents from the DOJ regarding when they got the FISA warrants and exactly what information was used to get it. And he said they once again on Thursday invited Nunes and Gowdy, they being the DOJ, to go to the DOJ. And they found out, Nunes said, that they weren't going to give them any documents, just like that last meeting. And he said, you remember that last meeting, there was something leaked right after that meeting. And I can't remember what that was right now, but there was something leaked, and it looked like it may have been them that leaked information, them being Nunes and Gowdy. So when they asked about the meeting on Friday, he said, are we going to get documents? And they said, no, you're not going to get documents. And so they said, well, then we're not coming. And right after that supposed meeting was supposed to take place, that's when the New York Times came out about Halper. And Nunes said, can you imagine that? If we had gone to that meeting, not gotten any documents, and that information came out about Halper, we would have been blamed for the release of that information on Halper. And he's probably right. It would have been another setup. And maybe the DOJ knew this information was coming out. I don't know. Maybe they're putting the information out and they're doing the leaks. And so they're trying to make, Nunez and Gowdy and all those people look bad, and it didn't work this time. I mean, in my mind, the New York Times and WAPO are probably working very closely with at least somebody in the DOJ and the FBI, and they all know that this stuff is coming. I think they're just like all working together. And I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theory, but I think we've seen enough connections to kind of to see that these people have long-term, long-standing relationship with each other. And they're working together. Now, Brandon just mentioned something in North Carolina. This was a heinous crime. Allegedly, a dad had a daughter who was, it's not Marlene, I know it's not theory, a daughter who was probably in her 30s. I think she worked for the police department, or at least a sheriff. She was in law enforcement of some nature. He went into a restaurant, had his family seated, and went back out to his car and slammed his car into the building, killing his daughter. And killing, and I don't know how many relatives. I know he injured the other relatives, but that his daughter was also his business partner, and he ran this car into the building and killed her. She was a sheriff's deputy. Yeah. I mean, just insane, Brandon. I don't, what in the world was that about? That was crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah, that's right. She was a corporal with the Gaston County Sheriff's Office. She killed his daughter and his daughter-in-law. Wow. 9/11 was an inside job. Okay, that. So yeah, I mean that was just absolutely insane when I read that. What city was that in? Gaston? NCAA. It was Gaston County. It was the Surf and Turf Lodge in Bessemer. Bessemer City. Bessemer City. I mean, just absolutely nuts. You're welcome. Also, another thing that was absolutely nuts, west of Charlotte. Okay. Brandon said it's west of Charlotte. Another thing that I thought was nuts, there's my article at SusanKnowles.com on Las Vegas. There's a Facebook and liberals are trying to kill freedom of speech. No kidding, Ernest. And they're doing a really good job at it, too. Sad to say, but they are. Neighbors in the northwest part of the valley in Las Vegas. It's near Elkhorn and Fort Apache. A church band near Raleigh crashed and multiple folks died yesterday. Oh. There are a group of teens supposedly in this neighborhood that are terrorizing the neighborhood. My article's at SusanKnowles.com about it. There were about in April they filmed this. There were about 60 teenagers. For whatever reason, they've been attacking this neighborhood. And they went up to this one woman. They attacked her 3 times, breaking her finger, spraining her ankle. These kids, they're like young kids, 12, 13 years old, have also been throwing rocks at people. And, when you're throwing rocks at people like fist size or whatever, you can kill somebody. If it hits them just right, you can die from that. So apparently, this was in Las Vegas, in a place. It said near community near Elkhorn and Fort Apache in the northwest part of the valley in Las Vegas. And they said they reached out to the police. They said that the police would just arrest him, let him go within like 10 minutes. And they reached out to these kids' parents. The parents did nothing. So they thought, okay, I'm going to go and we're going to go to the school and try to get the school to help us since these are middle school kids. The school says we're not going to do anything. And Barbara just said that's happening not far from there also. No-go zone in Las Vegas. Idle hands, folks, you know the quote. Well, the thing of it is, the parents won't do anything, the police won't do anything, and the school district is not going to do anything. Now, I don't fault the school district because what can they do? It didn't happen on school campus, It's not really their jurisdiction. What I don't understand is those people who are being attacked by these teenagers need to file charges against them for assault and battery. A police problem, Marlene said. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it. But you go and you start filing lawsuits against these people, these children, and hold their parents civilly liable if you can. Police here call them travelers. Crazy. Yes, the community needs to act together. They absolutely do. This is in Las Vegas, Brandon. Northwest Las Vegas. Part of gypsies, Barbara said. Better uptime. They need to shoot one of them defending themselves. It will stop. And see, here's the thing, Marlene. Parents teach and encourage. Yeah. The sad thing is, most children, when they're born, they don't start out doing bad behaviors. I mean, unless there's some mental health issues, whatever the case may be. But most children are taught by their parents, right? And they're taught right from wrong, et cetera, et cetera. My guess is these children aren't being taught, for one, and they're just running amok because they get away with it. There are no consequences. There's no consequences at school, none at home, none by the police department. When you put a child in a candy shop, they're going to eat the candy unless you tell them no and give them consequences if they eat the candy. Because they're kids, they will get slapped on the wrist and do it again. True, Brandon. Absolutely true. But the thing of it is, it's so sad that we think, and Marlene, this is not at you, this is what a lot of people have thought, that, one of them, we'll just shoot one of them and kill them and it'll be over with. And it's sad that our society we've come to that point where we're now talking like we have to, shoot the children to protect ourselves. And I'm not saying that people shouldn't defend themselves. If somebody comes after you and 60 people jump you, what are you going to do? But it's sad that we have come to this part in our society. They even try to get hit by cars to sue. Car broken into last year, and cops' first statement was, "I hope they are of age to charge." It's crazy. Used to, you'd lock these kids up in juvenile hall. My guess is that juvenile hall is overcrowded, and they're not locking these kids up. But again, you're correct about filing a lawsuit. Yeah, I mean, NCAA, you have to. You bring charges and you file a lawsuit. Parents saying that kids will not be hit back for fear of lawsuits. I know gypsies come through here ripping the elderly off. It's just amazing. I mean, the Bible talks about father will go against child will go against their parents. I mean, we're seeing this more and more. And I'll tell you, we're at a point, hey, Richie, arrest their parents. Well, there's probably no law that can arrest their parents there unless they're contributing to the demise of a minor. But I don't think there are laws like that in Las Vegas. Gypsies don't have permanent addresses. That's true. But we have a flood of this happening. Grace and peace, young lady. Thank you, Veritas. Same to you. Thank you. We have this happening more and more. And we obviously have a societal problem. We don't want to, we fill our kids' heads with video games, with pornography, with all kinds of stuff that they see going online, going on TV. I was listening to somebody give I don't know if you know him, about a 35-year-old young black man who calls himself a brown man, by the way, and who has 4 boys. And he was preaching in church, and I was listening. And he was saying, that all this time, like by the time a kid reaches a certain age, they've got 40,000 hours of watching all this stuff. It's not the video games themselves. Like, you watch it one time, it could be stuff in there that's bad for your kid. I don't disagree, but it's how long they watch it. They watch it like an average of 5 hours a day, every day, more than 40 hours a week of watching stuff they shouldn't see. And it's because we're not parenting. We're putting children in front of TV. We're putting children in front of video games. We have a problem. Parents are not parenting for whatever reason. And we have a flood. It is a flood. And it is something that, again, if you tried right now to stop this, you would have a rebellion from these children. You really would. Try taking a cell phone away from your teenager for a couple of hours or a day. Most will fight you tooth and nail over it. They're acting like video Grand Theft Auto. Cully said, iPad is the parent now. That's right. It is. And so, I don't know what we need to do. I don't know. I mean, I know what we need to do. I just don't think we're going to do it. Again, back in the day, when a parent could stay home and raise the children, that's what's needed. They hang out near where the Lockheed people leave work because they made good money, more insurance. Unbelievable, Barbara. But we need to bring God back into our lives. We need to bring the family back in, and I don't think we're going to do it. Honestly, I don't think we're going to do it because people don't want to do it. It's too much trouble. And, when I was treating teenagers and children, as I wrote about in my article, the biggest complaint from the kids were, my parents don't spend any time with me. They don't know anything about what's going in my life. And when you don't have a parent that's involved in your life, the message is, I don't matter. I'm not loved. I don't mean enough. Because if you don't take your time to spend with me, that means you don't care about me. You don't love me. And if you don't love me, you're my parent. If you don't love me, why should I love myself? Not treating humans humane, right? Deflection of personal responsibility, right? Oh, that's incredibly sad to hear that. Hidden Jim, I heard, you don't know how sad it is to be one-on-one hearing that. You just want to take these kids in your arms and just hug them and tell them, that you're loved. And why I wrote my book, okay? I mean, if parents aren't going to tell their children that, for God's sakes, get this book, so that maybe a child will learn on their own that it doesn't matter what their parents are thinking. They are worth it. They are loved. I mean, it's a problem that goes over and over. As I've told you before, when parents spend 10 minutes in the car talking to their children, and that's the whole time that they get, that's not enough. It's not enough. So what gets me so angry is that there is a mass shooting. They always blame the schools and the government, but what the role of the parents, and they're setting the right example not only to correct. Well, they don't want to. It's politically incorrect to talk about parents and what parents are or aren't doing. And I'll tell you, when you talk about parents don't want to hear it. Most parents, because it's like, oh well, you're saying I'm a bad parent. They know that there's something wrong in their parenting. Maybe they don't know how to fix it. Maybe there's no time for them. They can't fix it. But they don't want to hear it because it makes them upset, like you're calling them a bad parent. Hogg needs to speak to his generation, not the NRA. Brandon, he's not able to speak to his own generation. He's not qualified to. He's just not. I mean, the attitude that he has, the vulgarity that he has, he's not qualified. They have a God-shaped hole and a parent-shaped hole in their hearts. Marlene, I tell you, puppet, yeah. The one thing that I know that, it's kind of like when you're put on this earth, sometimes what your calling is, or what you're best at or whatever. And I'm not saying this with ego at all, so please don't take it that way. But the one thing that I know that I do, and I do well, and I've made a difference is helping at-risk children. I really have made a difference, and some of them, thank God, I have watched their lives turn around when their parents just tossed them aside. And I'm not, God working through me did that, but I'm just saying, thank God that I got to be able to shape some of those children's lives that gave up on themselves because they didn't have, a parent. Thank you, Marlene. They need you, Susan. They need God. They need their parents. It's a culture and societal thing now, and lack of education. Unfortunately, adults are just as moldable as the kids, just like my mom. I know, Marlene. I tell you, it's kids are hurting, and I'm not excusing their behavior at all, but I'm telling you, kids are hurting, and they will go and find whatever they need to find to fill that void that they're not getting at home. period. Whether it's gang members, whether it's like these kids in Las Vegas running around for whatever reason, drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, they will fill that void. They will lash out. They will internalize their anger, everything. I saw it 20 years ago, just didn't happen. Mom's story. Wow. It's the saddest thing I think I've ever seen in our society. And we have, the problems that are going on with the schools and the school shootings. There is a disconnect. A disconnect. If keeping mental illness aside, okay, there's a disconnect between parents and their children in a lot of these situations. And I'll tell you, if I were a parent and my child were going to any one of these schools, I mean, here it is, we're on Monday. Most of the schools across the United States are going exactly like they were last week before this happened. Nothing's changed. Did you mention Hillary and her wearing a Russian hat at Yale commencement speech? No, Junior, I saw that. I was disgusted by that. I didn't even want to mention that because I'm so disgusted with her. But, again, we didn't lock down the schools. We didn't put in metal detectors. We didn't put up guards at the schools. We haven't done any of that. I know, Junior. The woman makes me ill. Like, why speak of her? Anything she says is anti-Trump. So I just, wearing a Russian hat at a ceremony is ridiculous. Susan, I feel like these misplaced young men are getting kind of radicalized online. Incel thing. Could be. Private schools are safer. Yeah, Brandon. And Brandon, you have to ask yourself, what's the difference between the private school, parents who bring their kids to private school, and some of the parents that bring their kids to public school? I would have to say involvement. Susan, fight your own ignorance, set yourself free, sis. Okay, little pound, why don't you do yourself a favor and do that too? I just want to punch the TV when crooked Hillary is on. I know. Listen to some of these. Now this was put on Facebook by the same guy that I told you that was preaching over the weekend. Listen to what this says. 70% of prison inmates are raised by single mothers. And doesn't mean it's the single mother's fault. This is just, listen to these statistics. 70% of juvenile offenders are raised by single moms. 70% of drug addicts are raised by single moms. 71% of high school dropouts are raised by single moms. Being a single mom is the number one reason a child is in poverty. A little can go pound cake. Exactly, Cully. And what this is saying is, it's just saying that it shows you, number one, the importance of the role of the father in the family. And if a father is voluntarily not there, okay, Junior, have a great day. Thank you. You have a blessed day too. If a father is voluntarily not in the family, you can see the damage that it's doing. Staying behind a laptop leaves these kids unable to know how to interact with society. That's true, Carmen. And so it's, the single mothers. I mean, when I was an attorney and I was doing family law, I also did bankruptcy law at the same time. Reason being, when the family broke up, the mothers usually got the kids, but there's that, and yes, a lot of times they got child support and spousal support. But it's not enough for people separately to live. Kids in public school go in bus, private school kids go in Mercedes. Not always, but anyway, they, I forget what I was saying now, but anyhow, the fathers. So bankruptcy would typically happen because the mothers could not maintain the life. And even though they were getting the support, it's not the same money as when the family unit is together. So when you break up that unit, you're going to have, the 70% of poverty and all that. And it's not caused by the mother. It's caused by the breakdown and the break up of the family for whatever reason it is. So, again, it's not to blame mothers or fathers, but it shows you the importance. As per the Bible, the husband, father is the head of the family. No head equal no direction. And again, Patrick, one of the things, as I said, if the father voluntarily left, not good, not good. the devil is at work for sure. Absolutely, Brandon. Absolutely. And, it's going to take a lot of work. I don't know that our society at this time is up for it. Once again, the consequences of not following God's precepts. Yep, Marlene, it happens all the time. And we can see it. It's living proof now. It's playing out each and every day. And according to the biblical principles and what's happening in the Bible, what's to come, it's going to get worse before it gets better. So, anyway, thank you guys. If you would, please, do you have any cuddle pouches to show? I'll try to do that sometime this week, Carmen, maybe the purple one again. I'll show that. But you guys, have a blessed day. Please retweet this if you will. And we'll see you back tomorrow. Thanks again. God bless. God bless everybody. Thank you. We'll see you again tomorrow.